I wanted to share with you some of the things that I feel help me when I'm designing a new piece. Since all of my designs are basically, they're all one of a kind, which makes them all prototypes. And quite often, I'll design a piece and show designs to a client, and the client will pick one they like. And in the back of my mind, I wonder, well, how am I going to make that piece? I usually have figured out how I'm going to do a piece. And when I figure I have about 70% figured out, I figured I'm ready to go. Some of the things that I use to help me figure out a piece so it becomes successful is I may do mock-ups for part of it. Now, this is a good example of I showed some sketches and pictures of a mirror that I made, which was quite large. We called it Quattro Forma. And I had, in the drawing, I had pieces that cross over the other pieces. And I decided that probably the best way to do that is to do that in two layers. Bottom layer and then glue on a top layer. So these two are actually quarter scale of the piece that I did make. And I have them screwed together, so I was able to take them apart, put them together, take them apart, put them together, and work out the design. I did patterns for that also because I wanted to make my left side and then a right side, so that I had the patterns. And I could put them on my material and get the best use out of the material. So this helps me figure out how I'm going to make it. I also sometimes have an idea and I mock up maybe a quarter of it. And in this case, this is half scale. In this corner, I wanted to see how certain types of corners would work. And this is one of the mock-ups I made, and it looked pretty good, so I decided to use this on that particular table. Sometimes I'll do a quarter scale model, and or actually this is half the size, but I only did one corner. I'm sorry, half the size, just one corner, to see how that all goes together. And that was pretty helpful. Then sometimes I'll make a model from that. That's the whole model, but in scale naturally. I start out with architectural scale, and I generally use quarter scale, which means 3 inches equals a foot. And that works out pretty well. Every now and then I have a fair amount of wood that's good, but they're small pieces. So what I normally do is I make them into scaled pieces for models. So in this case, I have written here 5/4. By taking my scale, it's 5/4 thick in a 1/4 inch scale. And I'll put them away, and I have some boxes, and I put the 2 or 3 or 4 species away. And now if I want to represent something that's 5/4, I have that piece that's really nice to go. So this is kind of what we're talking about. Now this is a model that hasn't been complete, but to scale it's nice, and it gives me an ability to see all facets of it and turn it around. And that works out really well. Occasionally, I have a client that really would like a model. And you can put a fair amount of time in a model. I met a person a number of years ago in Manhattan, a very successful furniture maker. His furniture were metal and glass. And he had a lot of nice models. And I asked him about the model. And he says, most of the time I can sell it to the client, which was pretty interesting. So that stuck with me also. Now, one aspect of models is pretty cool. If I'm making a speculation model and the original sketch for this is that way, well, that looks pretty good. But then if I flip it and do something like that, wow, that's pretty dynamic. Or I can do something like this. So by moving this around, you get other ideas that you can piggyback off of it, which is actually really, really helpful. I think it's kind of fun to do also. And then often I will take a model and not take it to just quickly rough cut it on the bandsaw, starting out with a block to scale, and then rough cut it. This would be a coffee table. Take a look at that and say, well, I could see where that would work. I don't have to do much more than just that. There's another model that's a little more complete. And I often suggest to people that ask me, commonly I get people starting out in woodworking, they want to design furniture, and I often suggest, well, make some models before you start, and you'll get a lot of information from your model. Okay, I thought I'd pass that along to everyone.